Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
The kind of old-fashioned cop who preferred working the streets and making arrests to taking tests toward promotion. It was the closest thing New York had to a Dirty Harry.
This is One Tough Podcast on the OG Podcast Network. Here's your host, Bo Dietl.
Welcome to One Tough Podcast. You know what? I'm always here every week with my man Carlo, the producer.
Hello.
But today, Carlo, I got somebody, I call him like my other son, my friend. For a lot of years, he came to me in 2000 and probably 7 or 8.
Nine.
Well, one of those years anyway. Don't want to call me a liar. So he came up, he said, Bo, he goes, we got this President Obama here doing nothing. We're going to put together this great
That's exactly what I said.
hedge fund conference in Las Vegas. I'd like to put your name as one of the guest speakers. And I said, yeah. So I gave him some stale candy in my office.
True.
And he broke his tooth.
The candy was like if you were like living in a hotel and you had like the food thing in a hotel and they never replaced anything in the little like hotel minibuses. It was unbelievable. I was like breaking my tooth on like a 1991 Snickers.
So I bet him that. We're going to talk about something before we go back to that. All right. Well, Anthony is one of the most successful Harvard Tuffy School. Is that called Tuffy School? What's it called?
Yeah, that school sucked, but Harvard was great.
Harvard, you're a guy that I admire very much. Your success is like overwhelming. You're a guy that gets it done. You're a tough guy that's tough in business, not that tough on the street, but tough in business.
Well, after you saw that documentary, the Mooch documentary, you said you were worried for me. Yeah. Why were you worried from me? I was a little come across.
You get a little outrageous there. But let's give a little bit background.
A little outrageous. You're the definition of outrageous. So, that's why you're doing so well with the podcast.
So listen to this. Anthony has gone to all these schools, got a great education, but he comes from a blue-collar family like me. They didn't have nothing. They didn't have shit where he came from, his family. Same as my family. Hard-working people. Good people. But Anthony had his eyes at the prize. I call it the prize.
Eyes on the prize.
He's a hard worker. When I tell my kids,
like you, my man, eyes on the prize. You got to make it. You got to hustle.
Like I tell my kids,
no whining either.
So he worked for Goldman Sachs with all those fruitcakes down there, all those fugazis down there, and then he went on his own and he went into a hedge fund, but it's fund to fund. It's called SkyBridge Capital. And what SkyBridge Capital is, they probably are doing $12 billion with people's monies back and forth, but hedge funds. So he started this great SALT conference. He had there every United States president, every Secretary of State, guys from England. What is his name? That guy from England. What is his name?
We got a couple of them. Tony Blair.
Blair, yeah.
Brown. I'm not pronouncing it right. Tony Blair, Gordon Brown. Short,
this has become the conference that everybody wants to go to. And, my friend Fahad from the Middle East, Fahad, you know who he is?
I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah, he's hooking up with me.
He's coming?
Yeah, he's going to come. He's going to come. And it's the greatest conference. And I went to the original one, and I go every year because of Anthony. And it's a show. It's a show for anybody who wants to get down and see what the real power makers. These are all power people. I flew out there with Steve Cohen on his plane. He used to have SAC Capital. It's the who's who people of finance, not just hedge fund guys. I'm talking about captains of the industry. And it's just amazing mega conference, entertainment. He brings in Maroon 5.
Maroon 5. Republic, Lenny Kravitz.
We have.
You know what I got this year? You're going to love this. I got John Fogerty, man.
John Fogerty?
Who's John Fogerty?
That's great.
Creedence Clearwater.
He's dead, I thought.
What are you, nuts? He's 73 years old. He looks great.
He looks like he might be dead by the time he's supposed to perform.
He definitely, is up there, but he looks good, and he's a great performer.
That one, I'm going to go to one of those topless shows, and when you go there, I'm going to go to one of those clubs, all right? I could watch the dance.
Perfume and glitter, and an evacuation of Capitol.
But you know what? You know what's really great about Anthony? He doesn't forget his friends, Anthony. And when I go out there, he treats me like I'm his other half. He brings me all the special parties. I get into the VVV IPPP party where you only have maybe 12 people. You have special dinners. And I'm really honored that Anthony's my friend. So after he does this SkyBridge Capital stuff, and he's running a great hedge fund, fund to fund, and then all of a sudden he gets involved with our great president. I call him great. Anybody that don't like it, they can kiss my ass. He gets involved, and I'll be honest with you, he probably should have stayed there. And, he made a little bit of a hiccup. He made a little mistake, but his whole...
You think I deserve to be fired?
Not at all.
So why do you think I get fired?
I don't know. We're going to talk about that because that's so important. Look at me with Fox. When I went after that woman, Jamal Williams, whatever her name was, she was arguing with me about the Gardner case. I said, look, that's a terrible tragedy. He died of a heart attack. Guy got him in the head. Like, I used to do that. Nobody died. She goes, you're a racist cop. I says, and I go like this, and she goes, I hear you're going to run for mayor. She goes, you're too short to be the mayor. I go, I'm too short. I said, you're too fat. And that sealed my casket. She went after me, it was okay. And I'm like you, we don't hold back. But I'll never forget when I was running in mayor, I was in Dominican Republic, and I had on CNN when Anthony first took the job. He got up there. He's in control of the whole situation. And right now, Trump should have never got rid of Anthony. He's what he needs there because his loyalty is beyond anything.
Yeah, no, I stay very loyal. I mean, it's not going to be, I'm not going to agree with everything Trump's doing.
No,
but
we can't. I mean,
stay very loyal to him. You're going to separate children from the mothers at the border. You can't separate. You're not going to support that. You support that? You
not
think
at
that's
all.
a good idea?
And
that's
it became the whole. And it became.
He's trying to tell me that it's. Oh, well, Obama used to do it. Hey, they hate your guts. They're going to have 500 cameras on you.
That is exactly it. No matter what you do, Mr. President.
Life is unfair, man.
No matter what you do, Mr.
it.
President, is they hate you. So anything they look now, because Barr just came out and said they were spying on the Trump campaign by the FBI and by the attorney generals, and everyone's going, oh my God, oh my God. The fact is, anything that Trump says, they hate him so much. You know why? They hate him because he's kind of like you and me. He says it like it is.
He's not from them. So they're nervous about him. God forbid he could descend from New York into Washington and be one of the more successful presidents in modern history. And these guys got 4 decades of Washington experience, and he's just kicking their asses.
And every one of them.
They're not going to be able to handle that, so they got to demonize them. They're using every trick in the book. Then they used a couple of tricks on me, that whole Jedi mind trick shit that they do. And it worked, and they got me blown out. But Trump should have backed me. That's my honest opinion. I'm okay with it.
I'm totally backing you.
He's got the hardest job in the world. If he thought it was right for me to be there, and then 11 days later he thought it was wrong for me to be there, I'm totally okay with it. You'll never hear me whine about it. I came on this podcast last time, never going to whine about it. But I'm just saying to you, they're going to put every trick in the book on him. And they're going to keep doing it. They're going to do everything they can do. He's going to win re-election. They're going to hammer him into the ground as hard as they can. And, to me, I just wish if he calmed down a little, he'd have like a 60% approval.
You know what his problem is, too? And you know what I like about a tough guy? I like a tough guy with compassion. If you do something wrong, like we had a little something when I was running for mayor, and I said, I'm all stressed out. I'm sorry, because I went after you, and I said some nasty things during that time. But no, I'm making a point here. I'm making a point. The point is compassion with strength. If you say something wrong, Donald, I don't know about Donald Trump, have you ever heard him say, I'm sorry?
3 times. He said he was sorry when he got caught with the Access Hollywood tape when he was grabbing him by the pussy. He did say, I'm sorry. Grabbing him by the pussy. 11:58 p.m., he said he was sorry. He said he was sorry to Theresa May last July when he said, I'm very sorry I took that interview with the tabloid. I didn't realize it was going to cause you a problem. And then the third time that he said that he was sorry, he apologized to the original Pocahontas for comparing Elizabeth Warren to her. He said he didn't think that was fair to Pocahontas or the Pocahontas family.
3 apologies.
I just want to say, look, I'm sorry that I compared Elizabeth Warren to the original Pocahontas. It wasn't fair to Pocahontas.
Yeah.
So that was the third time.
Well, I'm talking about if you want to get things done, compromise is so important. But you know what? Honestly, the way they hate them, they have a vileness towards them. And then you get this Ocasio-Dapa who has no clue about life. And this other Muslim chick there from
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, and they're out there. They want to just flatten this country out. And I mean, the left has to look at one thing. The left have to look what they're trying to sell. I would rather vote for Joe Biden if I'm a Democrat than any one of these. Joe Biden's a little bit of...
we should be getting bumper stickers all over New York. AOC out ASAP.
Why don't you...
AOC out ASAP.
Why don't you move into the district and run right against this bitch for Congress?
No, I mean, come on. Bo, I'm back running my business. By the way, I'm also trying to stay married, Bo. All right, so let's try to stay married.
That's right. And
let's run the business.
And you want to know something? I know his wife is one of the most beautiful, lovely, and
I almost got blown out of the marriage.
He's blessed with 2 children with her. He has 3 other children from his other marriage.
Yeah,
beautiful
let's stay
kids.
married. Let's stay married.
And you want to know something? I told you.
Did I
tell you?
Was politics good for you?
No.
I mean, the stents were closing in your heart from the politics.
No.
Right? Why was politics bad for you?
18 months I stressed out.
Because they're animals.
Stressed out.
Why were you stressed out? Because they're animals.
Because I was trying to really do the right thing.
Right, and they go after you in a way that you never fully envisioned.
Easter Sunday.
These are the worst people on the planet. That's why the American people hate the politicians, because they're literally the worst people that you could ever come across. What did Trump say about the politicians? Let me just finish. What did he say? He said, I thought the real estate guys were tough. Then I came down here because the real estate has a bunch of babies compared to these people.
Unbelievable. Easter Sunday, I'm running for mayor. Mm-hmm. Front page of the New York Daily News. The whole page with my picture, Bo O's, O-W-E-S. Easter Sunday, so my kids, I was out in the Hamptons, my kids are calling, Daddy, did you get arrested? What happened? Yeah, it was, first of all, it was an offer of compromise about me living in the city when I was out the 188 days. I fought it for 10, 12 years. Finally, when I ran for mayor, I said, look, I'll give you, it was, the original thing was $100,000, but penalty and interest went to $488. I said, I'll give you $250,000 and I'll give you $50,000 every 6 months or something. I made an offer of compromise. They didn't tell you that. They put me in the paper to embarrass me. I never got a retraction on the damn thing. Even the people from the tax department goes, that's outrageous. You don't know that money.
They got me good, and they blew me out. But you know what? You also got more fame from it. I told Trump, you made me as famous as Melania and Ivanka. I didn't have to sleep with you or be your daughter. So it's fine. At the end of the day, what you got to do in life is never whine and never complain, okay? Because, my kids tell me that life is unfair. I laugh. I said, it is unfair, and you've won the lottery, okay? You're on the right side of life, so just take it chill, enjoy your life, get through it, and, things aren't going to ever be perfect, let's face it.
But you know what? I mean, it had to be so frigging exciting to be, you were the communication director, but in reality, you in the realm of the top 5, including the president of the country. That had to be exciting run, no?
Yeah, yes, but Bo, I'm a grounded guy like you. I didn't really care about any of that sort of nonsense. What I really cared about was, okay, how are we going to do a good job for him? How are we going to promote policies that are going to help the people that we grew up with better their lives? And how are we going to see if we can stop some of this nonsense in Washington? These people have failed the country. $21 trillion in debt. They killed 1 million people in the Middle East. They wounded 70,000 servicemen and women. They killed 7,000 servicemen and women. 22 are dying a day to PTSD. Education system sucks. Crumbling infrastructure. No industrial policy. The Chinese... 25 years for the Chinese is a second. We have no 25-year plan to fix anything in America. These people absolutely and totally suck. And they're very, very mean. They're very, very dishonest. And if you want to get somebody normal into the game that looks at it and says, I'm not going to care about left or right, but I'm really focused on right or wrong. What's right or wrong for America, not what's left or right for America, they're going to try to annihilate you.
When you were in the as a communication director, were you involved at all with Cohen and with the secretary of what's the secretary called, with the commerce and all that?
Wilbur Ross?
Yeah, were you involved with speaking to them? I mean, your abundance of knowledge of every aspect about the economy, and I mean, I've watched you on shows. There are no questions you can't answer.
Well, I appreciate that.
No, I mean, and everything.
Michael was still tight with the president when I was there. When I was there, I was in a study with the president. Michael came in through the Oval Office. The president got up to go talk to him. They were still tight.
Michael?
You're talking about Michael Cohen, right?
I'm talking about Cohen from Goldman.
Gary Cohen.
Oh, Gary Cohen. Okay,
no,
different
not
guy.
Michael. No, Michael's
Gary,
like Fredo.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Michael made a mistake. You don't do what Michael's doing.
No,
I mean, you know that. I know that.
And I know Michael for a long time, but he's like Fredo. He's like a rat.
I like Michael, but you don't do it. You don't grow up in a neighborhood like you or me
and become a rat.
Do what Michael's doing. So that was
no.
Wrong.
What I was trying to get at is with Gary Cohen.
Well, I talked to Gary yesterday.
But like I was trying to say, he may take over a bank, big bank there. That one's going down there. What's that called? Bank America, I think.
Wells Fargo, I think it is.
Wells,
yeah, well, look,
but the point is, were you? Because, like I say, I've listened to you for years at the fund conferences when you interview people. He doesn't have cue cards. He doesn't have a teleprompter. Scooch goes right at him and knows the particulars about the economy, what parts are failing, what you have to do to build it up. Are you a little afraid of where we're going?
Yeah, so, I want to tack on to those questions. Of course I'm afraid
where we're going. The great news about where we're going, though, is that there's so much technological innovation, biotechnological innovation, that despite having some of the worst politicians in the nation's history and the worst policies, because we have so much quantum and exponential technological growth and innovation, we may save ourselves. I'll give you an example. Obamacare sucks. Just look at it. It totally sucks. Having said that, improvements in biotechnology, improvements in medical technology, we're reducing the per capita rate of medical delivery to people. They thought it was going to go up and be 30% of GDP. It's at 23 now, but it's on its way back to 10.
People are getting fixed faster and getting out of the hospital.
That's what I'm saying. So the irony is our politicians completely suck. These are some of the worst people on the planet. And but we let them have it. You know what they did to us, Bo? They act like complete assholes. And so what ends up happening is normal people say, okay, I don't want any part of that. They don't even vote. And that plays right into the politician's ability to stay in power. So what we got to do is we got to get normal people out to vote. You know what I'm going to work on? I'm not going to be a politician, but work on normal people. Hey, you live in a city of New York. You're a minority partner in your own life. Okay, 53 cents comes out of your wallet. You get to keep 47 cents. 58?
No, 53.
53. Okay, yeah. 53. So $1 comes in, you're working your ass off.
Yeah.
$1 comes in, you get to keep 47.
Yeah.
Your partners are Bill de Blasio, Andrew Cuomo, and Donald J. Trump. Okay, now look, they're not the best partner. Trump's a great partner. He's trying to fix it. But those other two guys, look what they did to the state. I mean, look, I like Andrew. Him and I have personal friends, but $175 billion budget. Where's the money?
That's what I want to know.
Where is it going? Where are the bridges and roads and tunnels and airports? And what about the education? Where's the money, guys? Okay, listen, you got 19 million people. You got $175 billion budget. Where's the money? Where is the money?
We were even talking about with the city.
The people know.
New York
people
City,
are so tired
Anthony,
of it.
When you get almost $1 billion by the mayor's wife who never ran a lemonade stand, she doesn't know what the hell she's doing with the mental illness that's on the streets. In our classrooms, we have mentally ill children. They can't remove them. They can't monitor these kids. Also on Rikers Island, she says she spent all this money going to senior citizens' home. When you're 87 years old, if you make it there, you're depressed. But my point is, this is just one facsimile of what's going on. When I ran for mayor about the housing, hell, you should have brought private people in if they couldn't take care of the housing authority. And then on top of the schools, my daughter's a teacher in the South Bronx. The kids are being pushed through. They can't read and write. That's a good thing for black and Hispanic children.
They don't care. They're going
Nobody
to write
cares.
a nasty story about you, put you on the front page of the Daily News, and that'll stop a normal person.
Did you see that woman that was testifying yesterday? That black young lady was testifying.
Candace Owens. Yeah, she did a good job.
Unbelievable. She was saying, enough already. This is all baloney. They just want us to feel bad about ourselves, but they're not helping. Nobody's helping us, but they're not telling us the facts.
And people go after her all day, every day.
Well, let me tell you something. He's at 6% of the vote last time, Donald J. Trump. He goes to 10. It's over. He goes to 15. It's permanently over for them. So the joke is you destroyed the inner cities with your left-leaning policies. The joke is you've destroyed the aspirational opportunity of these people. So now you got them dependent on you. So there's a large part of them say, look, I don't care. I'll vote for you. Just give me the free stuff. But there's a large group of them that say, wait a minute, I don't want that. I want an opportunity. One of Trump's best lines in 2016 was, what the hell do you have to lose? You remember he said that?
He spoke in Chicago.
He was in Chicago, in the inner city, people killing each other, drugs,
well, that was part of my
crumbling schools. What the hell do you have to lose?
Before Bill Shine left, I talked to Bill. He was setting up something where I was going to go with the president to Chicago and talk about the federal RICO being in
Why did Bill leave, do you know?
What's that?
Why did Bill leave?
I think it was... you know what? He didn't have a personality like you. That's how I can say it. He wasn't an extrovert guy that took charge. Bill, I love.
Well, he lasted a lot longer than me. I mean, if you want to measure my mooches, he probably lasted like 200 mooches.
No, but the point is,
right, had to last
I don't
like
think.
days,
I think Trump wants a personality like you to spiel what he wants to do.
Trump doesn't like co-stars. You know that, and I don't know.
Yeah, but
you don't like people that are, he remember the girl that was the blonde girl that he worked with at The Apprentice. She was rising.
Yeah.
He don't like it. He likes
Carolyn something.
Yeah, you know who she was. But he looks fine. That's Trump. You're not going to change him. He's 72, 73 years old. If he would dial down the Twitter a little, and he would dial down some of the rhetoric, he'd have a 65% approval rating.
Absolutely.
But he won't listen. So he's going to make it tough on everybody. We're going to go 51 and win, but he could go 65 and win like Reagan.
51 and win is scary for me.
Well, why not dial it back then?
My point is, when you listen to what's going on with the Democrats, with the ultra left, you got to realize something. In this country, something like 95% of the people live paycheck to paycheck.
Well, that's why.
And here's another statistic. How about 60% of them make under $13 an hour? Now you're going to have these liberal Ocasio and this Kamala Harris, and then next thing is they're going to say, well, we're going to get this, we're going to get that. I'm scared stiff that they may come out in droves and vote against Donald Trump.
But greed has created the ultra left. Let me explain why, okay? The capitalist system is an unbelievable system. It unleashes growth and innovation. It lifts people out of poverty. But we have a fakakta form of capitalism now because it's too tied into the government. You got a lot of crony capitalism. And so what happens is these guys are making $60, $100, $300, $500 million a year, and they're not focused on our workers. And they don't allow the workers to make enough money. And so what ends up happening, the workers are going to disaffect and they're going to vote for free stuff. Henry Ford, whatever you think of him, racist, bad guy, all that other stuff, but he was a good social engineer. He told people, look, I'm going to pay the people on my assembly line enough money to afford the car that they're producing. I'm also going to put them in a nice house. They're going to be a small little house, but it's going to be nice, and they're going to be close to a good school system. And so this way, when I'm sitting in my Dearborn, Michigan mansion eating gourmet food and drinking French champagne, they're not going to come after me with a tiki torch and a pitchfork. They're going to be super happy in their house, and they're going to pass a baton of American dreamism to the next generation of people. And so that was my dad. My dad had no money. My dad was a laborer. My dad was a construction worker. He was in a union. He was a phenomenal guy, my father. He's 84 years old today. God bless him. And I do everything I can to take care of him and my mother. And they created a great opportunity for me. But you're killing those people now. My father's wages priced in 1974 to 2014, 40 short years, are down in real economic terms 26.7%.
Wow.
How are you going to live? So here's what you guys got to do. Just focus on yourselves. Make $1 gajillion. Politicians game the system, full-blown corruption, and 50 to 60% of the people are going to get pissed. And when they get super pissed, you're going to have a problem. Okay, so rather than do that, why not come up with solutions? Forget about left and right. Why don't we come up with solutions and plans that will actually fix the problem?
But you'll never the problem I see.
Why not?
Is, look, at Fox News, obviously I was 12 years, I was a contributor. Fox News is the only ones that really tell. Like every other network, NBC, CNN, every ABC, NBC, every one of them, they don't report anything that's on a positive level, the jobs, the jobs availability and all that. So what I'm saying is the people that are turning
the credibility to media is shot, Bo?
Absolutely.
You think
absolutely.
It's shot?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because there was a report last week that unemployment claims are at the lowest level in 50 years. we're on track to have the largest economic expansion in our nation's history. But to your point, Anthony, there are a lot of disaffected people. There's people my age, my generation, that are saddled with student debt, their wages aren't rising. They have to postpone their life milestones, purchasing a home, getting married, having children. So, you said there has to be solutions. Where do you see the solutions?
Let me give you the bad news. This is what a politician will never say this. There's no immediate solution. Mm-hmm. This took 30 to 40 years to put us in the ditch that we're in terms of that divide. And so it's going to take 25 years to fix it. Mm-hmm. So you need a 25-year infrastructure plan. You need a 25-year industrial policy plan. You need a jobs training and technical skills training, cultural transformation, where you got to tell people it's okay if you don't go to a 4-year college. I got plumbers and sheetrock people that are working in my house right now. They're making great money and they're surviving, and they get great. My cousin's an auto glass installer out on Long Island. My cousin Augie, he's done phenomenally well. Did he go to college? He did not go to college.
I didn't go to college.
So we have to transform the culture and the way we think about success and who we are. We can do all of these things, but the jobs and the conversion of that activity is not going to come back in a day, an hour, or 2 or 4-year term. But over 25 years with the right strategic planning, it could come back. But I submit to both of you rhetorically, tell me the politician that has a 25-year plan for America. You know any?
I don't know any, but another thing that I want to add.
It's a joke.
No. With the rise in automation, more jobs are being automated, and now it's even affecting the service economy. There's AI technology that can do a lot of work that clerical workers do. Truck drivers are going to soon be out of jobs. With that 25-year plan, what happens?
Okay, so that's why it has to be a 25-year plan, because there'll be levels of dislocation, just like there was in the Industrial Revolution. When we moved from an agrarian society to an urban service society, there was massive amounts of dislocation. But if you look at the society today and you measure its wealth, we're all doing so much better. When people bring that up to me, I say, okay, I want you to imagine you're in 1919. I'm going to give you $150,000 of 1919 dollars. That's about $4.5 million of today's purchasing power. You're going to live like a king in 1919, but you got to live in 1919. Or I'll give you $150,000 in 2019, and you can live in 2019. Most people will take living in 2019 on the lower amount of purchasing power, because look at the access.
So much easier.
Yeah, you understand the access to drugs, technology, $300 flight down to Florida. You're living like a king. You're not flying in 1919. Okay, you're not getting the drug and health care that you're getting in 2019 versus 1919. So the society has quantumly left up and made everybody more prosperous as a result of capitalism. But it has created an unevenness that it shouldn't be creating. There should be governmental forces that are not socialistic, that are free market in their basis and incentivizing people to help other people in the system.
Do you think, okay. Listen,
and so yes, it would take 25 years. We shouldn't be overly worried about the automation, because
to me, Anthony, you're an economist. I got to describe.
I'm a trained economist.
You're a lawyer. You're an economist. Whatever happened? We talked about it prior to this election. Whatever happened to the flat tax across the board, whether you're making billions of dollars, and get rid of some what bothers people? What bothers me too? Every one of my real estate partners, they pay no freaking tax. Depreciation, appreciation. They got to get rid of the loopholes and pay a flat tax across the board, where a guy who's making $100 a week, he's going to pay 15% tax, and then the guy making $15 billion, he'll pay 15%. How much easier? And then we can eliminate half the IRS.
There's
is that an idea?
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pages of tax code. It would be a phenomenal idea, and every economist
it would be
proposed
fair. Yeah, it would be fair across the board.
But this is why it will never happen, because you have special interests and you have politicians, and the politicians are incentivized to feed off the special interests and the lobbyists. And so the minute you put the flat tax in, guess what would happen? You added, since the Reagan tax reform, 100,000 pages of tax code, that's all special interest lobbying and jockeying,
in order
corporate
to take
welfare,
and to take advantage of it. You have to have an attorney that is attorney that's a killer, and the regular people don't have it.
Communist China, 35% all in. Capitalist America, 55% is the tax. You're in California or in New York, you're 55%. In communist China, you're 35%. Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? Someone's got to get in there and say, hey, guys, what are we doing? And they say, wait a minute, this guy's going to tell the truth. One of the funniest things that happened to me after my press conference, you remember my press conference, right?
I watched it when I
came off the podium. The president was very happy. I got a phone call from somebody who was an opposition researcher for the Republican Party, and he says, that was terrible. I said, it was terrible? I thought that, the president
I thought you were great.
I said, the president liked it. Why was it terrible? You telling the truth on the White House podium? What are you, absolutely nuts? I got 4 staffers from 4 different Republican senators that have called me and said, we got to get rid of this guy. What kind of dirt do you have on him? Of course, I'm not going to be doing any dirt digging on you. You're one of my best friends, but a couple other opposition research guys are going to dig dirt on you. They want you out of here. You can't tell the American people the truth from the podium. What are you, nuts? You're going to tell the American people that the debt's not going to get paid back? You're going to tell the American people that we have declining living standards unless we're going to fix the system and re-engineer the policies? What are you going to tell the American people, Ant? You going to tell them the truth from the White House podium? They're not going to let you do that. They're going to take you out, bro.
I tell you, the future.
And then 11 days later, I was gone.
Yeah, but believe me.
But they made, like I told Trump, he made me as famous as Melania and Ivanka. I didn't have to sleep with them or be his daughter. So
well, let me tell you something.
Yeah, you live and learn.
I would tell the president if he walked in this door right now that you were wrong for getting rid of Anthony. Anthony had your back. But with that said,
I still do have his back.
We're talking about technology. You know what's been happening? What's been happening in technology is people are just sliding right through it. And part of the things I'm going to talk about when I'm at the conference, and I want a nice position there because it's so important. I have a CEO.
You're going to do the podcast? I got a little podcast.
Yeah, but I don't want just the podcast. I want to do the General Assembly.
Yes, I realize that, but I'm going to get you real good guests for your podcast.
This is important. A CEO of a major drug company calls me up, Bo, you got to help me. My check was going into my bank. It was rediverted into another account. Then I get another company, a call from a financial institution, a vice president of a major bank. Bo, I sent my money to my brokerage thing. They never got it, went somewhere else. You know what's going on out there. What's going on right now is you're online. Not you. He sends you an email. You have what they call day loggers. They go in there. They don't react right away. They now embed themselves in an email. They're in your system. You don't know they're in your system. Now they're watching your security codes. They're watching your account codes. Then they make a move. This whole thing with this sextortion, it was on CNN yesterday with the sextortion. What it's about is that you'll get an email and say, you know what? Here's your password, because they see that they've been monitored. When they keylogged, they sit in there, they put what they call malware in there.
I've gotten those things. I just ignore them. They say, here's your password.
No,
we caught you on like a porno site. We need your money.
You're ignoring that. But what if you're doing business on your computer with your bank, with your account number, and they start moving stuff around? My point is, this is one of the most, and I've been getting calls on it. What the company that Danny and I put together, we bought the 3 patents. It's called keystroke encryption. Whenever you do a keystroke on your mobile device or on your computer, it takes it right down to the kernel. It encrypts it right down. So if someone breaks into your computer, they cannot see any of your codes. They can't see your personal account code. That's like me breaking into your house, Anthony, and you have everything bolted down. You can't bring it out. This is what I'm going to be talking about, one of the main issues at your SALT conference, because everyone will become a victim of cyber fraud.
No, believe me, I got – this is what happens in your businesses now, right? I got tons of regulation from the government, so I got 10 or 12 people running on that. And you got the cyber stuff. I've got to have at least 10 or 15 people to protecting integrity of our account information, our security, and all that other stuff.
But this keystroke encryption is so important.
By the way, as Bo knows, and the cliche is, the 2 types of companies, those who have been hacked and those who
will be,
or those who think they haven't but actually have as well. Well, it's like masturbation. When someone tells me they don't masturbate, they're lying, right? There's people that masturbate, and there's people that are lying and say they don't masturbate.
I did yesterday, Anthony.
Well, you didn't have to tell us that, but we knew that, Bo, just by looking how relaxed you are right now.
Yeah, okay.
We knew that you.
But the point is this: a lot of people don't realize these are what they call keyloggers, and they're out there surfing the web. Then they have the dark web. We search the dark web. I could search the dark web on you right now, my people. We can find out if any of your account codes are on the dark web. They actually put them on the dark web. This is one of the most important things that I want to talk about at the SALT conference, because every one of these hedge funds could be disseminated and dismantled like real quick. If they make an all-out attack, they can remove money from accounts, train accounts. Even with SkyBridge, you got to get the keystroke encryption in there. This way, if you get breached, because I used to be the spokesman for RSA. Remember, they were part of EMC. Dell took them over. I actually did a keynote speech for the president of RSA, and like they said.
I remember.
In reality, you can't stop the hackers. They go over, under, through, but you can stop the hackers from getting pertinent information
so
with
you'll
the
be
keystroke
out there.
encryption.
Oh, every time I've had you out there, you give a great speech. And one contribution I've made to your life, you no longer have stale candy in your office. Okay?
Fresh candy.
You always have fresh candy now.
Anthony, real quick, we were talking a little bit about policies that allow capitalists to improve the economy. Can you talk a little bit about opportunity zones and the funds that you're putting together?
Just quickly. I mean, it's an amazing program adopted by the Trump administration, but actually started by Sean Parker and championed by Cory Booker. So it's a left and right leaning idea, and those are great ideas. And so what is it? There's 20% of our country that's now been designated as opportunity zones. They took the 2010 census. They said if there's 20% of the people that are living in those areas that are below the poverty line, this will be designated by the United States government as an opportunity zone. So if you live in one of those areas, the United States is now telling people that they can invest their money in those areas and improve those areas. They can get a return on their capital investment without any taxes. So there's three components to it. Ready? I bought Microsoft stock for $1. I sold it for $101. I now have a capital gain of $100. I can roll it into an opportunity zone. Instead of paying the 20% capital gain, they'll allow me to defer it for 7 years. And at the end of the 7th year, I pay a 17% capital gain or a 15% reduction.
And you can use that money.
And then now the money's in the zone. If I can hold it in there for 10 years, I get that money tax-free. So in quick summary, it's tax deferral, it's a tax discount, and then on the return in the zone to help improve those areas, it's tax elimination. So it's deferral, discount, and elimination. And I just spoke at an event with Steve Witkoff, one of
my ex-partner,
one of Bo's good friends. And I got to tell you something. This is going to be phenomenal. Stephen Mnuchin from the Treasury Secretary, he believes that this will be a $100 billion project for the United States. $100 billion of
infrastructure
will be released into these zones.
Yeah, but correct. You got to build. So SkyBridge is. Hold on. Yeah. You in those opportunities.
You got to develop.
You have to develop affordable property. You can't do what they did in the West Side Yards over here. You can't afford it. That's going to be a big bubble that's going to pop. My friend Steve Ross built something over there, and there ain't no regular people that could go over there. You can't rent. You can't buy. You can't do anything over there. You have done nothing for the city. He didn't have one apartment that is affordable apartment.
Well, I'm going to defend him for a second, because one of the things that had to happen is there were 3 or 4 low income housing areas, but I think it's not enough, is what you're probably saying.
No. At West Side Yards, none.
No, Bo, I swear to God, because I'm in the Big Brother program for 28 years. One of the kids that was 13 years old when I was in the Big Brother program 28 years ago is now 41. And he works as a security guard at night. And he grew up in the Bronx, up on Loring Place. And he is living in a subsidized housing that was created by related companies.
Not in the West Side Yards.
It's pretty close. I'll give you the address.
Not in West Side Yards.
It's about 3 blocks away.
That was one of the things.
About 3 blocks away.
When Steve took it over, this $25 billion, that was part of the deal. They did not have to put the 80-20, none of that stuff.
No, it's not 80-20. That's the point. But there was some built. But you're right. But here's the thing. In those areas, you're going to build some low-income housing. You're going to renovate parts of the area. We're building a hotel right now in New Orleans. New Orleans was devastated by Hurricane Katrina. In a zone. So we're going to have the first flagged Virgin Atlantic.
Who's we?
Well, SkyBridge Opportunity Zone Fund.
Yeah, I want to get in.
Our sub-advisor is Westport Capital.
I want to get in. Okay.
See, Bo's got. Those are Italian signals. For those of you that are listening at home, those Benjamins, we call those Italian signals in my neighborhood. Okay. Where's the Viagra in here? Where are the blue pills in here? There's usually a few of those, too.
But so you really understand this. I like this. You know who's involved with this too? Anthony also used to be with Cantor.
I know Anthony.
He's doing a big initiative. So is Steve jumping into this?
Steve's jumping into it as well. Yeah, he's got a couple of projects. He just gave a great presentation
He's a
at
very
the
good speaker,
Williamsburg Hotel. He's very smart.
Yeah. But most important, you know, the last book how many books have you written?
4 books.
And what's the names of them?
Well, the one book I really want to write is
Something
called
up a rabbit's
50 Shades of Hedge Funds. That's the one I want to write.
Yeah,
it's going to be a profile of Bo Dietl.
Some rabbit's ass or something? What was that called?
Yeah, it's called Up Bo Dietl's Ass. It was a bestseller.
No, what was the thing with the rabbit
Hopping
hole?
over the rabbit hole. You try to avoid mistakes. How an entrepreneur turns failure into success. That was
one. Come on.
Wall Street Journal bestseller.
Next.
Trump, the blue-collar president. That was fun because the liberals are like, that guy's not blue-collar. I said, look, Trump was born with a golden toilet seat under his hiney. And if you've ever been to Trump's apartment, it looks like Louis XIV smoked crystal meth and decorated the place, right? So, you know, he's not blue-collar, but he did get the blue-collar people to vote for him. And I explained in the book why.
I'm meeting Bernie Carrick now for lunch, but you know who says hello to you? I'm having the drinks with Keith Schiller tonight.
Yeah, great guy.
Up at the joint on
good.
14th Street.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
awesome.
He's a good man.
Please tell him I say hi.
Yeah.
He's down in Boca now, right?
Yeah, he's doing very well. He's got stuff with International. He met a lot of people. God bless. He's a good, loyal guy, too. So, you know what? What we do every week is we wrap the show up with something. It could be a person or something that really bothers you, Anthony. What is your punk of the week?
My punk of the week?
It could be a person or an issue.
My punk of the week. My punk of the week is Rancid Penis, who's also called Reince Priebus. I mean, he's the punk of the week.
Still?
Yeah, terrible guy.
Still? Is he? Yeah. Still? Where is he?
No, I don't even know where he is, but he's a terrible guy. And let me tell you something. When you meet people that terrible in your life, obviously you stay away from them, you ignore them. But I was at this event in Williamsburg. The person comes over, I'm really good friends with Rancid Penis. I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. The guy was an unbelievably dishonest and terrible guy. And he's one of the creatures from the Black Lagoon. So he's not the punk of the week. He's not the punk of the month. He's not the punk of the fucking year. He is the punk of the century. Okay, well, low-life punk.
You know, when I met him, I was on Hannity's show. He was
low-life punk.
So I go on Hannity's show. I didn't even know who he was. He looked like a little troll. So I go on his show after we finished.
That could be one of the problems.
I didn't even know. I didn't even see the blip underneath. He was the head of the Republican Party. He gives me his card. He says, "You're the head of the Republican Party?" I said, excuse my language, that's why it's so effed up, the Republican Party.
Yeah, no, that's why he's probably so. Who's your punk of the week?
My punk of the week is a guy named Ed Cox. Ed Cox singularly has destroyed what has been the Republican Party in the great state of New York, my hometown. His claim to fame is he injected Nixon's daughter with a little pregnation, and he became a son-in-law of Nixon. He has destroyed this Republican Party. He runs garbage counties. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I told him to his face, you've single-handedly destroyed the Republican Party in this state. He looks at me, and he's tall. He's big, like Big Bird de Blasio. For some reason, these big guys see me, they're a little nervous because they know I'm a little psychopathic. He's a punk, and I called him a punk to his face. Yeah. He says to me, you know, Bo, he goes, you should drop out of the campaign. I said, no, you should let me do this Wilson Bakula. Let me run against the gal from Staten Island. If she beats me, I'll drop out and support her. He couldn't do it. I went to Queens County. I won 17-3 against. I said, I have a name. I could beat this guy up. I got more of a shot than she would have. And then I had to run. When I look at the ballot, I looked at the ballot, Anthony,
you know what I love
about the mayor's here. I couldn't find my name. I was on the bottom next to some Chinese guy.
You know what I love about you, Bo? You picked the same person that I picked. I picked the RNC chair. You picked the RNC state chair. You see that? So you and I are very similar, Bo. That's why we should never be politicians. We should have beautiful podcasts, hang out with our families. And what we should do is try to get people into the system, though, and start voting and start offering up ideas of reform. One thing I love about Trump, and a lot of people don't like him, but I'll tell you what I love about him. He is trying to change and reform a very, very broken system. Okay, and we know it's broken. Everybody knows it's broken. But it's the Ed Coxes, whatever that guy's name is, and the Rancid Penises, that they do all these little shenanigans to keep the system broken so they can stay in power. Empower yourself. If you're listening to this podcast, register yourself to vote. Get out there and vote. And buy a bumper sticker from Bo Dietl's podcast store, AOC out ASAP. Okay, we got to make those.
Let's put them
Let's put that on.
AOC out ASAP.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's start it tonight on the
We'll get a
podcast
logo.
with my intelligent friend Anthony Scaramucci.
AOC out ASAP.
Wait,
I got to sign up. I got to go to Bloomberg.
No, but listen, Bloomberg.
I'm going to Bloomberg Television. I got to fix
You know
my
why
hair.
Bloomberg didn't run, right?
Tighten my tie. Why? Why? All right. Okay. All right. So they
Did
know
you hear that?
Yes, I know.
Did you hear that?
Of course, I heard that. All right, stupid. Okay.
That's code, Carlo.
All right.
I
Don't even mention it. Okay,
All right,
please.
but listen.
I have a great life, and I don't need
so
people
now,
mentioning that.
how can people get to you? What's your all your social shit?
Yeah, at Scaramucci. Scaramucci. I'm at Scaramucci on Instagram, at Scaramucci on Twitter. You find me there. I follow everybody because I'm shadow banned because I hate conservatives. So just send me a direct message from one of
And
those
how do they
places.
get us?
All right. You could follow us on social media. We're at One Tough Podcast on Twitter. Bo is at Bo Deedle on Twitter and at The Real Bo Deedle on Instagram. I'm CJ Coutinho on all platforms. We appreciate our fans. You could find the show wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, give us a great review, and follow us, OG Podcast on Twitter. Email all your questions, onetoughpodcast@gmail.com. Anthony
One
Scaramucci,
more
returning
thing.
guest.
What speakers are we going to have at the Slow Conference in Vegas
You
in
got a
May?
whole collective mix. John Kelly, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Nikki Haley. You got people like Mark Cuban coming, Steve Case. You got
This is cool shit.
I mean, it's
Let me
an
tell you,
unbelievable.
this is a happening.
Buffet table of different people. Leslie Odom Jr. that was in Hamilton.
And-
Michael Milken from the Milken Conference coming to my conference.
You
We
gotta-
never mentioned the Mooch documentary though, but I'll tell you that was a lot of
Oh,
fun.
hold on a second. Yeah, before we go, there's still
I got to
on.
go though.
Okay, did you
Where
know
can we
there was-
find the Mooch documentary?
You just go to Amazon or you go to Apple, the iTunes store. You watch the Mooch documentary.
A little
It'll
tough.
give you-
He's a
it'll-
little tough in the.
He told me after the documentary, he said, man, you're a tough little son of a bitch. What do you want me to be, Bo? How do you think I got here, Bo? I can't go from the family I went from to where I am today without staying in the cockpit and taking some heat. Okay, but also, if you're coming after me, as was evidence in that podcast, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to come after you. If you leave me alone, okay, then you're fine. You follow what I'm saying? But the guy Rancid Penis, we're going to do a number on him. And you can do a number on Ed Cox on the next podcast, okay?
Yeah,
Love
we'll
you.
do it.
Love you,
Just,
man.
Okay, thank you, Anthony Scaramucci.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.